And welcome back to the Northeast Florida surf fishing forecast for October 20th through the 22nd. And if you live in Northeast Florida, you will know that the last couple of days the wind has been howling. Picked up about noon on Saturday and it's been blowing ever since. This video was taken Monday afternoon in Jack's Beach. Surf was 4 foot still. Northeast winds at 20. Video I took earlier in the morning on Monday in Ponte Vedra, it was actually much worse. It was northeast up to 25 and the surf was 4 to 6 foot. The water actually doesn't look too bad here in Jack's Beach. And it should stay that way, guys. The next few days, literally the next 3 days, east-northeast winds 10 to 20 each day with surf 3 to 6 foot. So it will be rough. But as long as the water stays clean, I don't see why we shouldn't catch some fish on the lower tides. As you can see, looking up and down the beach, this is at low tide. There's a nice trough that runs all the way down the beach. And there's also some cuts that are now forming from all the surf. So go at low tide and you can find out where all the surf is. Doesn't look like they did much on the pier today with the swells. I don't think any workers want to be on that platform working. So like I was saying, the winds are going to be blowing northeast pretty much all week. Looking at the future forecast past Thursday, still northeast, a little bit lighter possibly. It really all depends on what this storm off of Bermuda is doing. None of the models show it coming anywhere near us, but what it will do is send in some more swells. So if the northeast wind picks up and we have the swells from Epsilon, I think it's called, you're looking at probably maybe 4 to 7 foot surf, which in that case, the runouts will be tremendous. But if we don't get the swell and it stays like it is with these east-northeast winds, I've actually done very well fishing in Ponte Vedra. On the last 2 hours of the outgoing and first hour of the incoming, I use Sputnik sinkers. So if you don't have any Sputnik sinkers, you need to get a hold of the sinker guy, Chip Brundage. He has the best Sputniks in the business. I've used his Sputniks now for 6 months, no issues. The other Sputniks I used for several years, they never held like they said they would. These Sputniks that he sells, they meet the standard and they pass the test for what a Sputnik should do. Like I said, on the last 2 hours of the outgoing, you use that Sputnik fresh shrimp, sand fleas. You'll be able to hold bottom because if it's more east wind, the good thing about east wind, even if it's 20 miles an hour, it's not producing the north to south current that a straight northeast wind would do. It's more in and out, so you can fish that low tide. Now at high tide, it definitely becomes quite hard because what happens is you end up with all whitewash. Tide goes out, it recedes back into that first trough, and that's where you can fish. Now, if the water stays like it was this afternoon, it'll be pretty clean and you can catch just about everything. Pompano, whiting, redfish, black drum, trout. Sand fleas are still there. On the lower tides, they'll be easier to find. There should be mullet now. When we get these northeast winds like this, it starts to push more mullet out of the river. It's like a signal to them to say, okay guys, the winter's coming, we need to start headed south. So the water temperature right now is 78 still. It was like 75 a week and a half ago after that first cold front, but it's gone back up. So we want that water temp to drop to about 75 and the pompano and whiting will fire off greatly. As you can see though, there's nice bluefish coming up, quite a few whiting, good size whiting. Redfish, the river is absolutely loaded with redfish. If you have a boat and you want to go catch some reds, head into the river. 25, 45 foot water inside the river, or just look for where all the boats are parked up and pulling them in and just line up in that area because those reds are big schoolers, so wherever you find one, you'll find more. Funny thing about these reds, probably about 8 years ago, around this time of year on the Jack's Beach Pier, we had 4 to 6 foot surf is northeast about 20 to 25. So of course we couldn't fish in the surf from the beach, so we went up to the pier, me and my buddy Phil. And it's one of the things that I always remember that when it's rough, that doesn't mean the fish aren't feeding, because in literally like 2 foot of water, every time one of the swells would come in and push the whitewash up the beach, the mullet were everywhere. There is these redfish chasing the mullet all the way up on the beach, and several times as the wave receded, the redfish actually got stuck on the sand and would have to wait till the next wave to come back in. So we used mullet, and we caught some nice ones. I remember I had a 27-inch red that weighed almost 10 pounds, and its belly was absolutely full of mullet. So the key to that this time of year, go at low tide, find one of these sloughs that might have 2 or 3 foot of water in it, at dead low tide when it's rough like this, and go first thing in the morning, because what happens is these mullet will sit in inches of water. So when you have a little cut like that with 2 or 3 foot of water, they'll be loaded in there, and those redfish will sit in there as well. Many times throwing for mullet early in the morning in these cuts, I've thrown on reds, and I've never caught one. They'll get out of the net too fast, but that just shows you they're sitting in there shallow. Same thing at night. If you got a low tide at night, they'll come in shallow. So will the trout. We've caught a lot of trout and reds as the sun goes down, inches of water with finger mullet. So keep that in mind. Fishing, like I said, low tide, plenty of whiting, fresh shrimp. Sand fleas are still there, like I said. Make sure you freeze a bunch up, because winter will be coming eventually, and those sand fleas will dig down deep to where you can't find them. You'll have to go down further south to find them unless you freeze them up. If you haven't seen it, we have a video with Noel Kuhn on how he brines them to where they look like they were just caught. So it works. We'll put that up again probably this Thursday when we do our report, just to refresh everyone's minds. If you want to fish the inlets to get out of the wind, that would be a good choice. Right now there's flounder, reds, trout, bluefish, and a few pompano sitting in the inlets. Huguenot are fishing the rocks at Huguenot, Amelia Island, Nassau Sound. There's still plenty of tarpon at Nassau if you want to target some big tarpon, but also in that area along the bridge, sheephead, drum, flounder, reds, a little bit of everything. You got Volano rocks. And then if you want to even go further south, you got Matanzas, the Matanzas Bridge. You're catching a lot of fish off of that. Just, there are a lot of options for us fishermen when the surf is too rough, guys. So don't ever just give up. And if you don't want to fish in the rough, what I suggest is tie more rigs, get all your gear ready, because we are coming up literally into the best time of year for surf fishing. Once that water hits about 75 and drops between 68 and 75, some of the best fishing of the year in Northeast Florida. You got drum, reds, whiting, pompano, trout, tons of mullet to use for bait, sand fleas, and the shrimp are plentiful in the river right now, so it's not a problem getting fresh shrimp. That's a good thing. The fresher, the better. And these are some of I have reports from like late October, early November, where we were just crushing the whiting, 60, 70 a trip in a couple of hours, limits of pompano, 3 or 4 drum mixed in, and we had big fish fries with them. So now we don't keep that many whiting because we really don't need them, especially if we get a red or two. That's a lot of meat, but they're fun to catch. Like I said, we're using the double hook pompano rigs to catch pretty much everything on. If I am targeting like the trout and the reds, I usually use a Carolina rig, 2 ounce if I can. If I have to go to 3 ounce, I will, but I try to use as least weight as possible when I'm using that Carolina rig. I like to let the mullet look more natural and just drag it along the rocks, the pier, along the inlets where there's little sandbars, drag it over the sandbar. Those flounder like to sit in little cuts. Just really, this time of year there's going to be fish everywhere, guys. So we look forward to seeing some catches the next couple of days. If you haven't done it yet, go to our Facebook page, Broken Reel 23, Northeast Florida Surf Fishing, and send a request. We got about 1,000 members in it now, and we have quite a few reports a day up and down the Northeast Florida area of what's going on, what they're biting on, and a lot of questions get asked, and we have a lot of quality anglers in there to answer them. So if you haven't done so, go check it out. And as always, if you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate it. I like helping everyone out, and it's a fun hobby. And fishing is very stress-free, especially when you turn on the news. So what I suggest is turn the news off and get to the beach and fish. Till next time, guys, tight lines. And I almost forgot because I'm tired. Don't forget your fish bites, guys. I always forget to add that. I got them in my bucket and I use them, and they work great. Last week when we were catching sheephead and drum from the surf, the drum were hitting the fish bites, so do not forget to put those in your tackle box. Great bait, and yeah, that's all I got. See you soon.